and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is September 10th, and we're on page 33 of the magazine. We're talking about food waste fashion, which what? What we're talking about is fashion made from materials that originally were food waste, which is a big issue right now because food waste, it takes a lot of labor and energy to produce food and the waste that comes with food. And if we can take advantage of that labor and material to make clothes, that's a great savings and also a step forward in the circular economy.
好，这个我们看到英文标题 Food Waste Fashion。好，那 Food Waste 通常我们叫厨余啊。那不过我们这篇文章里面谈到的这个 Food Waste 啊，它不是说我们吃剩下的那种厨余啊，而是一些废弃或者我们不用的食物的一些部分啊。那中文标题这篇文章的中文标题是改写时尚，水果也能做布料啊，因为它谈的是如何利用 food waste 来做出一些时尚的一些布料。
So, let's read our article. Most people would be shocked to learn that the equivalent of an entire garbage truck of clothing is burned or thrown into landfills each and every second. Perhaps equally as shocking is the fact that the fashion industry will likely account for 1/4 of the world's annual carbon emissions over the next 30 years. For this reason, fashion designers have begun looking for more sustainable and environmentally friendly materials from which to make their garments. Among the most creative and promising solutions are plant-based fabrics, namely those derived from food waste that would otherwise end up in landfills or incinerators. Believe it or not, the tough leftover peels and seeds of certain fruits can be used to create decent outfits. What's more, these leathers are highly durable, biodegradable, and cruelty-free. Apple leather is produced from leftover seeds, peels, and cores and feels quite similar to real animal leather. Pineapple leather, on the other hand, is made from the stringy fibers extracted from pineapple leaves. Not only can pineapple leather be used to make shoes, jackets, and bags, but it has also been used to cover sofas, chairs, and automotive interiors. Fruits aren't the only plant-based leathers in existence. Mushrooms also make a fine leather substitute. However, instead of leftover food waste, lab-grown mushrooms are used. By controlling the temperature, humidity, and carbon dioxide, a dense fibrous mushroom-based material is formed. After they grow large enough, these mushrooms are cut into slices and treated with special chemicals. However, these chemicals are much lighter and less toxic than those used to tan animal-based leather. Finally, an Australian company has recently invented a process that can turn coconuts into a wool-like fabric called Nullarbor. The process does not involve cutting down trees and requires very little land and water. Okay, so this is the capitalist solution to fashion waste. We just make it more recyclable. Most people would be shocked to learn, and it's true, it is kind of shocking to learn, that the equivalent of an entire garbage truck of clothing, so the equivalent of means that it's the same amount as, not that they're actually throwing garbage trucks of clothing, but that the same amount of an entire garbage truck of clothing is burned or thrown into landfills each and every second. That means there is a lot of cloth that is just being destroyed, and those resources that made the cloth are therefore going to waste.
好，所以一开始他讲到说 most people 大多数的人 would be shocked to learn that. 为什么用 would 呢？因为这是一个虚拟的情况啊，并没有说真的这些人都吓到了啊，而是说他们如果发生他们知道这件事情的话，他们大概会吓到，所以这个虚拟的情况，所以是用虚拟语气用 would， 所以大多数人会被 shocked， 就是这个震惊，感到震惊。To learn that， 当他们知道，这个 learn 不一定是学习，这也可以翻译成知道。当他们知道，或者当他们了解，当他们这个听到上面这件事情，什么事情呢 ？The equivalent of 就是和什么什么等量的，叫做 the equivalent of， 和什么什么等量的呢？和一个 entire 完整的、整整的啊，一个 garbage truck 就是一个垃圾车of clothing 就是这个量跟整整一车的垃圾车的这个衣服这样等量的这些衣服呢或者衣料呢 is burned 被烧掉了，或者是 thrown into 丢到了 landfills 垃圾掩埋场。 Each and every second 就是每一秒钟是一种强调的用法。
Perhaps equally as shocking, probably something that also might make people stop and wonder, is the fact that the fashion industry, all of the various activities that is involved in creating clothes for us to wear, will likely be responsible for 1/4 or 1/4 of the world's annual carbon emissions over the next 30 years. So basically, the carbon pollution created by fashion is 1/4 of the world's output.
好，那 perhaps equally as shocking 就是同样的让人感到震惊的 is 是什么呢？那这句话各位可以稍微注意一下，这句话其实有一点倒装。这个 equally as shocking 这个其实是补语那这句话真正的主词呢是从 the fact that 一直到这个句子的结束。那因为这个主词非常的长一行多，所以你如果把主词放在前面的话，你说这前面 the fact that 讲完了 is equally shocking 这个句子就头重脚轻。好，而且这个重点就不是那么清楚，所以他把这 equally shocking 搬到前面来，先把补语放在头，再加动词 is， 然后才把主词介绍出来，所以这个句子是有点倒装的。那这个句子的主词呢，就是告诉我们这件事情同样的也令人震惊，是什么事呢？是 the fact that the fashion industry 就是这个时尚产业呢，它 will likely 很可能会 account for 就是 responsible for 就是它会占有这个世界的整个世界1/4的 annual 就是每年的碳排放carbon emissions。那 over the next 30 years 在未来的30年里面，时尚产业呢所产生的碳排放量可能是全球每一年所生产的那个碳排放量当中占了1/4。
For this reason, fashion designers have been looking for more sustainable and environmentally friendly materials from which to make their garments. So fashion designers have been looking for a way to make clothes or garments from materials which are more sustainable. And sustainable is a slippery word that lots of people are using for different things, but in this sentence, what it means is environmentally sustainable. It means that it won't use up Earth's resources.
好，所以呢，我们可以看到这个句子，他说 ，For this reason， 因此 ，fashion designers 就是这些时装的设计师 have begun looking for， 他们已经开始寻找 more sustainable， 更能够永续的sustainable。那这个 sustainable 呢，在这里指的是 environmentally sustainable， 就是在环境上面更能够永续的。好，而且呢，同时也是 environmentally friendly， 也是更环保的这样的材料 materials。From which 就是从这些材料里面呢，他们可以 make their garments， 他们可以做他们的衣服。好 ，garments 这个字它可以数的，单数 garment 就是 an article of clothing， 就是一件衣服。所以 garments 当它加了 s 的时候呢，差不多就等于 clothing clothing 这个字不加 s 的 ，clothing 是指衣服的总称，它不加 s。但是 garment 可以加 s， 所以这个你也可以这样记 ，clothing 就是 garments 一个有 s， 一个没 s。
Let's just quick talk about sustainable for a second. Sustainable just means you can do something for a long time or you can use something for a long time. And since we use it when talking about environmental issues so often, people associate the two, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's 环保. It just means you can do something for a long time. So sustainable business means business that will go on for a long time. It doesn't mean environmentally friendly business.
好 sustainable 这个字现在我们用起来大概都跟环保有关，但这个字本身并不是指环保的意思这个字本身它就是可以持续下去的，就是 sustainable 只不过现在我们谈到就是在环保方面，我们希望很多东西是能够 sustainable， 就是它能够永续下去的能够持续下去的，不会因为我们滥用而灭绝所以大家对 sustainable 这个字可以稍微更了解一下。
So some businesses use this, they take advantage of this to sound environmentally friendly even if they're not, and that's why you have to pay attention.
所以有一些公司呢，他们会说他们自己的公司是 sustainable 但其实他们根本不环保，但他就是利用大家对看到 sustainable 想到就是环保，就是永续，但其实这公司它真的一直是我们希望能够永续经营，那环保没有关系。
Yeah. Okay, so the next sentence. Among the most creative and promising solutions to the sustainable, like environmentally friendly materials problem are plant-based fabrics. So fabrics made from plants. The thing is, most fabrics are made from plants. Cotton is a plant. Not most fabrics. Cotton is a plant and most fabrics are made out of cotton. But they mean plant-based, not cotton-based fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
And they particularly mean, namely, those derived from or created from food waste. And by food waste, as Wesley Lao Shi said earlier, it's not waste, post-consumer food waste, but waste that's created in the process of creating food. And otherwise, this food waste would otherwise end up in landfills or incinerators. So this is industrial waste that we're using.
Mm-hmm. 好，所以呢，我们自己看到这个句，他说，among 在什么当中呢？在这些最有创意 creative， 还有最 promising 前景最看好的这些 solutions 解决办法当中呢，有什么啊？有什么呢？有 plant-based fabrics。plant-based 就是以植物为基底的，也就是说以植物制成的 fabrics 这种纤维啊。那大家听到这个可能觉得这到底在指什么东西呢？所以呢 ，namely 就是。That is to say， 把你讲清楚啊，也就是 those derived from derive 这个字就是从那里引导出来，或者从哪个源头得到的to obtain or receive from a source。所以这些纤维是从哪里衍生出来的呢？从 food waste 我们这个在这里其实不太适合把它翻成厨余其实就是刚刚 Angela 老师讲的，你在制造食物的过程当中所产生的那些废弃物像这个果皮等等的所以他们可以从这些 food waste 里面得到这样的纤维。好，而且呢，这些 food waste that 就指这个 food waste， 这些 food waste would otherwise otherwise 就如果不是这样的话，就是 under other circumstances， 就你如果不拿来它把它做这个纤维做衣服的话，这些 food waste 也是会怎么样？会 end up 就是下场在哪里？下场在哪里呢？在 landfills。在垃圾掩埋场，或者是 incinerators 就是垃圾焚化炉。所以换句话说，这类 food waste 你就算不拿来做这些利用的话，它最后也是拿去掩埋起来或者烧掉。所以如果能够利用这些 food waste 来做一些这个 plant-based fabrics 的话，那就非常好这 fabrics 其实你在这里不是指纤维，它应该指的是一种布料了。
So believe it or not, the tough leftover peels and seeds of certain fruits. So some fruits have peels that are strong and tough, and they have seeds. And these things can be used to create decent outfits. So this sentence jumps a little bit too far. A decent outfit means clothes that have been put together into a pleasing arrangement. How are we getting from peels and seeds to a decent outfit, a pleasingly arranged set of clothes? They're jumping a lot. They're jumping a lot of steps. So you use the peels and seeds of certain fruits to make fabric, which is then designed into nice clothes, which is then put together by the consumer into an outfit. So I feel like this sentence is a little bit misleading because you're going straight from fruits and seeds to outfits. But I think that the author is using it for comic effect. Like sometimes to go to the extreme is funnier than to just say that these things can be used to create nice cloth.OK
好，那我们可以看到这个句子他说 believe it or not 信不信由你。 The tough 这个很坚韧的leftover 就是残留的这个 peels 果皮还有 seeds 种子 of certain fruits 某些水果它残留的这种很坚韧的果皮或者种子呢can be used to 可以被用来 create 用来制造 decent outfits 一些很像样的甚至于是体面的这样的一种 outfits。 我们先看 decent 这个字decent 这个字在这里其实是 fairly good 的意思satisfactory 就是像样的还可以了所以例如你可以说 he made decent wages in the new job 他这个新工作的 这个薪水呢还可以啦，还不错，就是其实也有点还不错的意思了。好，那这个 outfits 它就是 a set of clothing， 就是一套的衣服啊，通常会有一些配件等等的。好，那刚刚 Angel 老师讲说这个句子跳得有点快，因为从这个果皮种子马上就说到它能够用来做衣服，中间好像少了几个过程啊，那可能是这个作者为了有产生一些喜剧的效果、夸张的效果，让你看了之后很震惊啊，就可以这样子啊，大概是为了这样的一个效果。
And then our next sentence says, what's more, these leathers are highly durable. Now, normally, when you say something like these leathers, it means that we already talked about leather, but we didn't because we kind of skipped it in our previous sentence. So now when we see these leathers, we have to go back and be like, oh, the leathers that they probably make from these seeds and peels that go into the decent outfits. So these leathers made from peels and seeds are highly durable. If durable, it means it can be used for a long time without breaking. And also, they're biodegradable. If you bury them into the ground, they will turn back into soil. And cruelty-free. And this is a buzzword used by people who promote veganism to say that it will not have made any animal inconvenienced or hurt to produce this leather. Because normally leather is animal skins, which means that you have to kill the animal in order to get the skin. And this is considered to be cruel by the vegan crowd. And so cruelty-free means no animals were killed to create these leathers.
好，所以 cruelty-free 就是所谓的零残忍啊，也就是告诉你说没有动物在这个过程当中受苦或者是被杀害等等的啊。好，所以我们看到这个句子开头他说 What's more 更有甚者 These leathers 这些皮革啊，那这个地方呢它其实也是有一点点跳哈，就是等于说我们从上下文大家可以猜出来，这个所谓的 leathers 应该就是从这些残余的或者剩余的这果皮种子啊等等做出来的这种皮革。那这种做出来的皮革呢是 highly 非常的 durable， 就是耐磨耐用，而且是 biodegradable 是可以生物分解的，而且它是 cruelty free 它零残忍。
We used to call leather made from plastic, we would call it pleather, and this was a derogatory term, like you don't have real leather, you just have plastic leather. But now we can have freather, which is leather made from fruit. Freather, which is not a word anyone is going to use anytime soon because it is not a beautiful word.
Yeah, 不过这个都开玩笑，就是产生了一些新的复合字啊，因为以前那种塑胶皮啊，那他们就用这 plastic 加上 leather 啊，创了一个新字啊。那现在如果有这种 fruit 加上 leather， 也许也可以创一个新字。
So number 2, our sentence number 2 here is talking about apple leather. And apple leather, apple leather, is produced from leftover seeds, peels, and cores, and feels quite similar to real animal leather. Which begs the question, why are there so many apples being produced that we have leftover seeds, peels, and cores on an industrial scale such that we can use it to supply an entire other industry? And the answer is apple juice. Americans and the Western world loves to drink apple juice. Oh, Europe does too. So there is a huge industry that is just making juice from apples. And of course, all of the solids from the apple is left over and then can be made into apple leather.
好，那我接下来讲到这 apple leather 苹果皮革，为什么跟苹果有关呢？因为其实欧美人士很多国家都很喜欢喝苹果汁，好，所以他们会产生很多的这苹果皮啊、苹果种子啊、苹果果核。那如果能够再利用的话，当然很好。好，所以这地方讲到说，这个苹果的皮革呢 is produced， 它怎么样制成的呢？是从这个剩下的一样苹果的种子 seeds 或者 peels 苹果皮，还有 cores 就是果核，苹果的果核。而且呢 feels quite similar to， 就摸起来和什么什么相当的接近，相当的像，所以摸起来很像怎么样 real animal leather， 好像跟真的这个动物的皮革摸起来感觉很像。
Now, number 3, pineapple leather, on the other hand, is made from stringy fibers, just like fibers that are just like strings. Like imagine a palm leaf, or imagine a pineapple leaf. There's a lot of stringy fibers in there, and they can extract them or use them from pineapple leaves.
好，所以呢，这个凤梨皮革另外一方面 on the other hand is made from 它什么做的呢？ 是有这个 stringy fibers。stringy fibers 就是那种很粗很明显的那种这个纤维啊。那像这种很粗很明显这种纤维呢，它是 extracted from， 它从哪里抽取出来呢？ extract 就是抽取的意思，因为 ex 是 out， 那个 tract 就是 draw 的意思。好，我们在之前有讲到 subtract 就是减了，因为 sub 就是 away， 好 tract 就 draw 就是把它 draw away 就是把它减掉拉下来。好，那这个地方呢 extract 就是把它拉出来，就是抽取的意思。所以这些很粗很明显的纤维是从什么地方抽出来呢？是从这个凤梨叶里面抽出来的。
And again, pineapple is canned and made juice of at such an industrial scale, and everyone who's ever bought a pineapple knows that the pineapple top is about as big as a pineapple, so there is a lot of pineapple leaves on hand to create this industry. So not only can pineapple leather be used to make shoes, jackets, and bags, which are things you need strong leather for, but it has also been used to cover sofas, chairs, and automotive interiors. You can make leather-covered furniture, which is, again, something you need a very durable material for.
好，所以这个凤梨皮革呢，不但能够 be used to 被用来制造鞋子啊、夹克或者外套，或者是包包 bags。好，它也可以被用来 ，but it has also been used to， 它也已经被用来覆盖这个沙发、覆盖椅子，还有覆盖这个汽车的内装啊。那这个地方其实告诉我们，它用来覆盖，也就是说它们被拿来做啊这个沙发套、做椅套啊，或者是这个汽车内装的这个皮套。Interiors 指的就是内部的，通常指内部的这个一些内装、装饰啊、装潢之类的 interiors。它这个字本来的意思是内部而已，不过当我们前面加上一个汽车的话，那就是讲到汽车的内装。
Fruits aren't the only plant-based leather in existence. Mushrooms also make a fine leather substitute.
好，那水果呢，并不是唯一的一个以植物为基底的，就是从植物做成的这种皮革。In existence 就是存在。好，这个 the only 什么什么 in existence 就是现存唯一的。在这里是否定，它不是现存唯一的一种这个植物性的皮革。然后他接下来讲说 mushrooms 蘑菇呢，它也 make a fine leather substitute 是替代品。那这个 make 在这里其实是 be suitable for 的意思，就是适合用来做。所以蘑菇呢，它也适合用来做一种很棒的这个皮革的替代品。
However, instead of leftover food waste, lab-grown mushrooms are used. So we're a little bit off topic because we're not using food waste to make these mushroom-based leathers. We're creating mushrooms out of nothing, or out of other things.
好，但是呢，他说 instead of 我们没有这个使用这个剩下来的这些食材废弃物而是怎么样？我们用的是 lab-grown， 就是实验室栽种的这样的一种蘑菇用来做这些蘑菇的这种皮革。
By controlling the temperature, the humidity, how much water there is in the air, and how much carbon dioxide there is in the room, a dense, meaning it's very solid, fibrous, meaning it's very tough, mushroom-based material is formed. And of course, if you're doing leather, you need something solid and tough.
好，所以 by 就透过控制温度、湿度，还有这个二氧化碳。好，通过这样的程序呢 ，a dense 就是高密度的 ，fibrous 就是含纤维的因为它富含纤维，所以它可能这个很 tough 就是很坚固、坚韧的一种 mushroom based 以蘑菇为基底的这种材料呢被形成了。
And after they grow large enough, these mushrooms are cut into slices and treated with special chemicals.
好，那它们长得够大的时候呢，这些蘑菇就会被切成一片一片的，然后呢 treated 处理用 special 特别的 chemicals 化学物质来处理。
Now, the author is aware that treating things with chemicals is the problem in the world, and so he has to specify that these chemicals are much lighter.By lighter, he means less toxic or less polluting, and less toxic than those used to tan animal-based leather.
但是呢，这些用来处理这个 mushroom-based material 的这种化学物质呢 are much lighter 就是比较温和一点，就是没有那么强而且是 less toxic， 没有那么毒toxic 就是 poisonous， 跟什么比起来没有那么毒呢？ Then those 在这里就是 those chemicals those used 就是他们比那种被用来 tan 这个以动物机体的这种毛皮，也就是动物的皮革的这种化学物质还要这个温和的多，没有那么毒tan 这个字在这里的意思就是这个它是让动物一种过程它可以让动物的皮革的这个蛋白质产生变化它是一种化学制成，它可以让这个皮革经过这样处理之后就比较不容易腐败也不容易这个变质，那也会变得比较这个牢固，比较耐用，而且也会变软。
Finally, an Australian company has recently invented a process that can turn coconuts, which also have a lot of fiber, as you probably know, into a wool-like fabric called Nullarbor.
好，那这个地方它最后呢，一家澳洲的公司最近也发明了一种过程，一种制成 a process 一种制成，它可以把椰子turn coconuts into 把椰子变成什么东西，变成一个 wool-like 像羊毛一样的 fabric 一种布料，那被称为什么样？被称为这个Nullarbor
And this presumably also is a byproduct of the coconut food processing industry, and so the process does not involve cutting down more trees than we already do and requires very little land and water because we're using existing coconut waste.
好，所以这样的一种制成呢，它并没有牵涉到砍树cutting down trees， 也需要的是怎么样？是 very little， 需要很少的土地跟水，所以也是相当环保的。
So, we have several questions here for you, the number one of which is, which of the following is not mentioned in the passage? What are we not talking about here?
本文没有提到底下哪一样呢？
The answer is D, the names of fashion designers. We haven't mentioned anyone by name.
答案是 D， 服装设计师的名字，我们没有提到这个。
And number two, where would this passage most likely be found? Where would we find this kind of article?
最可能在什么地方发现本文呢？
The answer is C, in a fashion magazine, probably.
答案是 C， 大概是在一本时尚杂志里面。
And number three, there are sentences numbered 1 to 6 and paragraphs 3 to 5. You have to do a bit of close reading here. Which two sentences best indicate the benefits of plant-based fabric?
好，在第3到第5段当中呢，有标上1到6的句子。那哪两句最能够显示出植物性纤维的好处呢？
And the answer is A, 1 and 6, because 1 says the leathers are durable, biodegradable, and cruelty-free, and 6 says the process does not involve cutting down trees or creating more waste. Talking about land and water, actually.
Yeah, 答案是 A 是第1句跟第6句最能够讲到好处，因为第1句里面讲到说这些皮革这个做出来呢是它们非常耐用，而且可以生物分解，而且零残忍。那第6句呢谈到说就是做这种这个椰子的这种这个皮革呢，它不用砍树，而且它需要非常少的土地跟水。
So, number 4, which of the following statements is true?
好，那下列叙述何者正确？
The answer is D, the process of making coconut fabric doesn't harm the environment.
答案是 D， 制造椰子纤维的过程不会对环境造成伤害。
So that's all we have for you about plant-based fabrics, but please join us again tomorrow for more Ivy English. Until then,